So getting into comedy, is there anyone like you look towards? Like we don't have a lot of Arab. Well, now there's a few, kind of people that we can identify with. But at your time, like when you were growing up or was there anyone you were looking towards? It doesn't necessarily have to be someone, an Arab or a minority, but like anything specific, like someone you said, okay, you know what? That's what I want to be like.
Like as a comedian, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like just a comedian. Honestly, I was really obsessed with like old TV shows when I was a kid. Like I didn't really start watching stand-up until I was maybe 17, 18, 19, really started getting into it more seriously. Like I would listen to whatever was on, or like flip through the channels and watch some whatever was on, some random stand-up show. But I was really obsessed with old comedies like I Love Lucy and Mary Tyler Moore. And she was so bold, and like especially Lucille Ball, and she was such a badass like for her time. And she did a lot of physicality and a lot of things that probably weren't considered ladylike then. And, and like Mary Tyler Moore was like the first woman to wear pants on television, which seems kind of crazy now that you think about it, but they were really like pioneers and ahead of their time. And these were shows like with female leads, and it talked about their stories and their lives, and it was from their perspective. So maybe in some subconscious way, I was like, I want to do that. And I would always be like very physical and silly and growing up. My stand-up is not so much like that, as much like physicality. I think it's just like a different part of me. But I think that all kind of melded together in some way and made me like subconsciously want to pursue some sort of career in performing, because I feel like I was always performing, but I was also really scared of putting that out there in the world. It's vulnerable,
Of course, right? Especially when you're doing anything creative, it's so weird, right? You put yourself out there, and then people just,
you're open
as they do with the shawarmas, right? They just sit there and they're like slice you up into pieces, and you're just like, you're so vulnerable. Like, how do you manage that? Like, because we're still. And we were talking about this the other time with Hiba Fisher, and we were saying that we're still kind of developing that skin, right? Because we're doing the podcast, and you get people that like it and get people that hate it. And how do you deal with that as well, right? And you have hecklers on top of that. You know what I mean? So that's even worse. You're getting real time feedback.
That's true. You get real-time feedback, real-time hecklers. And honestly, it makes you have thick skin. You just have to stop caring what other people think. And that's easier said than done. I think what happens is you get enough rejections and you realize like it doesn't matter. You do enough shows, you don't care anymore. One goes well, one doesn't, fine. I have another one in like, half an hour or the next day. I mean, not now during COVID times. Although we are starting to do outdoor shows, which is kind of like, it's going to be like coming back to stand up again for the first time. That's what it's going to, like, that's what, I don't know. That's the energy right now. Everyone's got a feeling, oh God. So I have a show like next week, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't been on a proper stage in like months, but we've been doing Zoom shows. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting
that's really cool. I'm sure you get a buzz, man, when you have people there. Like there's that feeling, that excitement. I'm assuming that's kind of what fuels you, right? Like I would imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely adrenaline rush. And you learn to deal with hecklers just like anything. I mean, maybe the first time you're going to be kind of like freaked out. You do it enough, and then you just kind of get used to it. And it's interesting because I am very like sensitive person. So if you told me that I would be standing in front of a room full of strangers judging me and then not laughing sometimes, and then me not like taking it to heart, I would have believed you. But I think stand-up has definitely helped me have a stronger, sense of self and care. I mean, it breaks you down too, but it builds you up.
Of course.